How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail.
Because he is a dead man walking. Every record label motherfucking executive and the motherfuckers in Black Rock, this ain't gonna make it. And it's gonna be the end of the story because we are waiting on the other names involved. You ain't gonna hear him.
Finding out he was recording everything.
But not only celebrities, I don't think it's only celebrities gonna be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there.
Uh-oh.
He also had a couple of preachers in there.
Y'all, Diddy's lawyer just dropped something wild. He's claiming that independent lab results showed some unknown substance in Diddy's prison food. And now, Diddy is convinced someone is trying to pull an Epstein on him. Diddy has been complaining about dizziness, blurred vision, and memory blackouts. And now his lawyer is begging the judge to release him on bail. See, Diddy was acquitted of the most serious charges, and the ones he was found guilty of would normally allow him to get bail. However, the judge immediately denied bail, and now Diddy is paranoid that the feds are keeping him in there because they're planning to take him out.
But how often do guys get held on a prostitution charge? And after this many months, like 10 months in prison, the judge said that that video highlights a disregard for the rule of law and a propensity for violence. Fair. But you're withholding bail for actions that were not part of the case against him.
But think about this too. Just days after Diddy got off on federal RICO charges, the FBI announced they're officially closing the Epstein case because there is no client list and Epstein definitely unalived himself. So is it all just a coincidence? Or does this prove that Diddy was the Jeffrey Epstein of hip-hop? And remember what happened with Epstein the night he died in prison? Cameras mysteriously malfunction, both guards fall asleep, and then the autopsy shows his neck was broken like someone strangled him. And now Diddy's in the same position. He knows way too much. A lot of powerful people were blackballed at those parties, and we still don't know what happened to those tapes the feds took from Diddy's mansion.
Clive elevated him to a record executive by helping him found his label, Bad Boy Records. That was Clive's move. He did that. And then Diddy, along with a lot of help from a lot of other people all around him, proceeded to do 30 years worth of sexual blackmail operations within the rap industry.
So now the question is, how far are they willing to go to keep Diddy quiet? Well, according to Diddy's legal team, Diddy's life is in serious danger, and someone already tried to poison him. Diddy's lawyers, Mark Agnifilo and Tini Garagos, are claiming Diddy is experiencing some strange symptoms like sudden dizzy spells, heart palpitations, blurred vision, and a metallic taste in his mouth, which are all classic signs of exposure to low doses of or toxic agents. And apparently, these symptoms started months ago, but they got more intense after the verdict was read. Diddy's lawyers issued a statement saying, Mr. Combs has reported significant neurological symptoms, including tremors, confusion, and dizziness, which have worsened since his verdict. We are seriously concerned that his food is being tampered with. The lawyers also claim that the lab results confirmed a foreign compound that doesn't appear on the prison's approved list of substances. And it's not something you just find in food by accident. Now remember, back in February, it was reported that Diddy was taken to a hospital from prison in the middle of the night, but they never really revealed what happened.
Sean Diddy Combs reportedly underwent treatment in a hospital as he continues to await trial on trafficking charges. According to Page 6, the 55-year-old was transported from Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, the federal prison where he was sent following his September arrest, late January 30th to undergo an MRI and was then soon returned to police custody later that night.
And then Diddy himself told his legal team that he suspected he was being poisoned, and he even stopped eating at some point. According to The Sun, Diddy started refusing prison food after he saw that the media was comparing him to Jeffrey Epstein and saying he kept Epstein-style tapes of freak-off parties. Meanwhile, Larry Levine, a former prisoner in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, where Diddy is being held, told The Sun that it would be easy for someone to poison Diddy and make it look like he died from natural causes. Imagine if someone paid someone off on the inside to poison his food, give him a heart attack, and he dies, Levine said. If somebody got to one of the correctional officers, and this could happen, they don't make a lot of money, and there's people out there that he's got stuff on that do have a lot of money. And this is exactly why Diddy is so paranoid now. He knows who these people are and what they're capable of. The ones who attended his parties and were recorded doing depraved and possibly illegal acts. And remember, we're not just talking about rappers and Hollywood actors. According to Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, Diddy was secretly recording tapes of extremely powerful people like politicians, bankers, record label owners, and even members of the royal family.
Yeah, man, I know they gotta be shook, man, after finding out he was recording everything.
But not only celebrities, I don't think it's only celebrities gonna be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there. Hallelujah.
So is there any solid proof that Diddy was the Epstein of the music industry? Well, you won't hear this in the mainstream media, but several independent journalists have been digging into this, and it turns out a crazy amount of overlap between these two cases, from the island parties to their client list.
Yeah.
Very first time.
Yeah, I have an island. This is just for inspirational motivation to use to go. You know what I'm saying? You don't know a lot of black men that come from the hood, they got an island. I got an island, it's called Love Island. So when I took you to Love Island, and then you realize that, you know, the plane landed and then we had to float to another island. What was going through your head when we were going there?
And notice how both Epstein and Diddy spent decades doing whatever they wanted, despite tons of accusations and police reports. But somehow, nothing ever stuck. And that's the kind of thing you'd expect if they were protected by the feds, working as assets, or had dirt on the right people. Now check out this interview where Diddy said people don't really know the real him, and that's by design.
Do you think that people really know you?
No, people don't really know me, and that's
So
by
what is
design.
Who is this person, the Sean Combs, that we don't know?
We have yet to find out.
Right.
You have to come along for the ride. You have to come along. I mean, that's the whole part of the journey. That's the whole part of entertainment. I mean, you don't rock with a brother for like going on 20 years and stop now. You gotta see this movie all the way through, baby. Believe me, I got an action-packed ending for you.
So if those stories are true that Diddy was running an Epstein-like blackmail operation with help from elites and maybe even the feds, it definitely explains how he stayed out of serious trouble for so long. But who are these elites who were protecting Diddy? Well, that's a whole other rabbit hole. And yeah, it gets pretty dark. Well, according to podcaster Patrick Bet-David, it might be the same elites that Epstein was working for.
So here we go. Epstein was rumored to be associated with intelligence to U.S. journalists Dylan Howard, Melissa Cronin, and James Robertson linked Epstein to the Israeli Mossad in their book Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. They relied for the most part of the former Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben Menashe. According to him, Epstein's activities as a spy served to gather compromising material on powerful people in order to blackmail them. There's also possible connection to the Mossad via Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father, Robert Maxwell, is said to have had contacts with the Mossad. Epstein's victim, Virginia Giuffre, also alleged Epstein to be an intelligence asset, linking on Twitter to a Reddit page that alleged Epstein being a spy running a blackmail operation. This continues. A U.S. attorney in Florida, later U.S. Secretary of Labor, Alexander Acosta, reached a settlement with Epstein's lawyer, including Alan Dershowitz, in 2008, which allowed him to receive a very light prison sentence. Acosta later reportedly stated that he was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence and that the issue was above his pay grade.
And then another sketchy thing Bette David pointed out is that the government assigned the same prosecutor for Diddy that was in charge of prosecuting Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Very strange things are going on with Diddy's case. Let me explain to you why. Think about what happened with Ghislaine Maxwell. Who was the lead prosecutor? The same person that when Epstein was being held accountable was the same lead prosecutor that is now with Diddy. This person's been the lead prosecutor for all three of them. What do you think is going to happen with Diddy? Is Diddy going to be O.J. Simpson 2.0? You know, is going to go free and nothing's going to happen to him?
So now more journalists and regular fans are starting to do their own research, and the stuff that's coming out is insane. Check out how independent journalist Ian Carroll explained this connection between the Diddy case and Epstein's blackmail ring.
In order to understand this lawsuit against P. Diddy, you need to understand the history of sexual blackmail. A lot of people in the comments are misunderstanding why rap music is so anti-gay. And a lot of people understand the ties of Israel and the Mossad to blackmail by Epstein, but a lot of people don't realize the ties of blackmail back to the invention of blackmail and the Jewish mob. So if you don't know what's going on, Diddy, one of the most influential people in the rap industry over the last 30 years, just got served this court case that alleged all kinds of crimes, including murder and drugs and prostitution, but especially having all of his homes wired with cameras and hosting parties with underage girls, rappers, label executives, celebrities, politicians, and collecting sexual blackmail on tons of important people. Like, we're talking Jeffrey Epstein level of operation, but in the music and entertainment industries. But the thing about a court case is that we're only getting the allegations that are in that case, and they're only relevant to what that defendant saw and experienced. And so the bigger picture is not filled in directly. You have to kind of understand the history of this stuff and what each thing might imply about the bigger picture. And that requires an understanding of the history of this stuff. And it's not complicated, and it's a wild story. So, the FBI was founded by J. Edgar Hoover. He actually was the head of the Bureau of Investigation, the BOI, before the FBI was even invented back in the 20s. And he served there for 11 years. Then they invented the FBI, and he served as the head of the FBI for 37 years, totaling 48 years leading what was more or less the FBI. So we're talking like all the way from like the Great Depression through World War II into like the 60s. Like through the 60s music revolution into the 70s. All of that time period, the FBI was led by the same person, and he was one of the most corrupt government officials in all of US history. And understanding the state of organized crime and of law enforcement in America is impossible if you don't know about J. Edgar Hoover. And understanding the nature of sexual blackmail is impossible if you don't know about Meyer Lansky, who was a boss in the Jewish mob back in the 30s, 20s, like the Prohibition days and so on. Meyer Lansky, this Jewish mob boss, basically invented the concept of sexual blackmail. And he did it by blackmailing J. Edgar Hoover, the guy who was explicitly supposed to be taking guys like Meyer Lansky down. The Wikipedia articles are sanitized, but basically Meyer Lansky had a photo of J. Edgar Hoover using his mouth on his main assistant, Clyde Tolson. Realistically, it was his boyfriend. They were a couple. But then, once Hoover was blackmailed, he was like, how much worse could it get? And so he started hosting blackmail parties in collusion with these mobsters and inviting all sorts of important people to these blackmail parties to collect his own blackmail. This all happened in what was called the Blue Suite at the Plaza Hotel. And it was basically a bunch of male cross-dressing all caught on camera for like a decade or more. And because Hoover was already blackmailed by the most powerful gangsters in the world, like he didn't give a shit, and he just went and hosted them, and everybody got blackmail on everybody. So back to our boy Diddy, who founded his record label when he was only 24 years old. Became one of the most successful record labels of the time. He was able to do that because he was financed and supported by his mentor, Clive Davis, who just happens to be gay and rich and Jewish, just like Meyer Lansky was. And at the time, he was one of the most influential men in the music industry. He'd managed all kinds of the biggest name artists that you've ever heard of. And he found this guy, Diddy, on the up and up in one of his companies who we now know from this lawsuit and the other lawsuit filed by his ex-girlfriend Cassie, which is horrific, disgusting, not a good read. We know that Diddy has some real effed up proclivities, as well as just generally probably being at least gay or bi, one of the two. So Clive Davis finds this guy with questionable morals, questionable habits, and ready to go crazy haywire, whatever. Like, he's willing to shoot people. He's willing to launder money. He's willing to do crazy. He's willing to do basically anything. This is just me speculating on Clive here, on his motivations, but Clive mentored Diddy, and Clive brought him up, and Clive elevated him to a record executive by helping him found his label, Bad Boy Records. That was Clive's move. He did that. And then Diddy, along with a lot of help from a lot of other people all around him, proceeded to do 30 years worth of sexual blackmail operations within the rap industry, and promoted artists that seem to have been ensnared in it, like Usher, for example, like Meek Mills. Hell, even Justin Bieber is like directly in this storyline. And so what you wind up with is a rap industry, a music industry that is full of people that are creating the types of music that the people above them, that the people that hire them, that the people that manage them want them to make. They're all terrified of stepping on the wrong toes or getting out of line or doing what they're not supposed to for one blackmail reason or the other.
Then there's Candace Owens, who said she's not surprised Diddy was found not guilty on the RICO charge, the same way she wasn't surprised that the FBI just closed the Epstein case and said there's no client list.
So Hollywood has always been a blackmail ring, but who sits on top of it? You see, something that strikes me as odd about this Diddy case is his demeanor. And his demeanor reminds me of Jeffrey Epstein's. Jeffrey Epstein always kind of had this smirk on his face. You know, everything was coming down and he seemed remarkably calm, always smiling. I guess you would be smiling if you were the person that had been collecting blackmail on people and knew that you had video footage of people, maybe even the people that were prosecuting you. Jeffrey Epstein, you're like, yeah, this is really cute that you think you're gonna put me in prison when I've got videos of you doing some crazy things on my island. Diddy has that same air of pretension about him. And just 30 minutes before he got arrested, I'm gonna show you this, it's unbelievable. Diddy's laughing on the side of the road. Take a look at this clip. So this was from TMZ. You can see he's just like dapping up the homies. Just dapping up the homies on the side of the road, laughing. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I gotta go to prison real quick. Yeah, I'm about to get arrested. Yeah, I'll see you. I'll see you on Tuesday. Love you, my dude.
Now, Candace also pointed out something interesting that the mainstream media completely ignores. Diddy reportedly had his own Ghislaine Maxwell, and her name is Christina Coram. She was named in multiple lawsuits, described as Diddy's right-hand woman, and even Cassie mentioned her in her testimony. And yet, the feds completely ignored her. And during the whole trial, they were acting like Christina didn't exist. And according to Candace, this alone should tell you the whole trial was just a performance to make the public believe the justice was served.
By the way, guys, for you guys talking about the Diddy case, I already said this. It's a show trial. That's why I didn't cover it. It's so clearly a show trial. We didn't get Christina Karam. We didn't get Lucien Grange. We didn't get the Universal execs. If you read through Little Rod's lawsuits, Diddy was not at the top of the ring, okay? And it sounded like it was a Fed operation. And so it was a show trial because the feds are never going to reveal the feds that are in control of an operation. And the minute that they did not bring Christina Karam, the involvement that this woman have, apparently it's like having a Jeffrey Epstein trial and not like a public Jeffrey Epstein trial and not mentioning or bringing up Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, that's how you know it was a show trial. So this whole fake, oh my God, I can't believe you got away with it. Of course you got away with it. This was a Fed operation. That is my viewpoint. I am never going to change it. I think he's the Jeffrey Epstein of the hip hop world. He was doing what he was supposed to do and what he was told to do. And we're never going to get any information because now everyone's gotten their show trial. Yay. It's just, that's what a show trial is. It's meant to make everybody feel like justice has been served, or at least justice was attempted to be served. Like, you know, we did the right thing. We got a jury of his peers. And they came back and decided he wasn't guilty. And then the feds keep doing what the feds do. I still believe that it is a drug operation.
Now here's another spooky part. Some people in the industry were comparing Diddy to Epstein before the trial even started. However, they were quickly silenced. One of them was comedian Eddie Griffin, who was even naming names of executives and claiming that Diddy was blackmailing them. But all these videos got wiped from Eddie's official YouTube channel, and now you can only find clips of it on social media.
They sacrificing Diddy. They said, nigga, you gotta take this. we can't be involved. But Diddy smart. He filmed every session. So he was Clive and the freak boy that run Universal Music Group. So he got them on some tapes. Now that's why they raiding the house, because they got friends in Homeland Security and the feds. And they said, get in there and get them tapes from this nigga. He trying to blackmail us. That's what I believe is going on.
And then another video that got removed from Eddie's channel is the one where he claimed Diddy will be Epsteined in his prison cell because he has too much dirt on too many powerful people.
Here is my prediction. I predicted that he was going to jail before they took him. I'd be surprised if he lived past the end of September, because he is a dead man walking. Every record label motherfucking executive and the motherfuckers in Black Rock, this nigga ain't gonna make it. And it's gonna be the end of the story, because we are waiting on the other names involved. You ain't gonna hear them. And now they're gonna auction off all his mansions because the feds now own all of his record label and all that shit.
Fast forward to now, and it turns out Eddie Griffin was right. None of the people who helped Diddy rise to the top were even mentioned in the trial. People like Clive, Ron Burkle, or Lucian, their names never come up in the investigation. For months, the media was pushing stories about rappers Diddy supposedly hooked up with, singers, and Hollywood actors at his parties. But no one was asking real questions about the people behind the scenes. And now, the government is saying there's nothing to see here. Diddy's just a freaky guy who, yes, gets angry and puts his hands on women, but he was definitely acting alone, and all those parties, thousands of bottles of baby oil, and hidden cameras in every room. That was all just for his pleasure. That's what they want you to believe. And the same thing with Epstein. The Department of Justice just announced that there's no Epstein list. Ghislaine Maxwell transported victims to no one, and Epstein definitely unalived himself. Case closed.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
And here's a clear example of how the gaslighting is happening, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Back in February, former Attorney General Pam Bondi went on Fox News and openly said the Epstein list is real and was sitting on her desk.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm